What's up, fish tank people? FishTankTV.com. Dustin's Fish Tanks bringing it to you on a Sunday, baby. How's everybody doing? I hope you're doing well. So today we're back in front of the no maintenance tank. That's right, this tank has got absolutely no maintenance for over a month, and it shows. We're going to be doing three things today in the no maintenance tank. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to remove some of the algae, and I'm going to show you how to do that. The number two thing we're going to do, which is probably more important than removing the algae, is unpacking why we got the algae in the first place. We got a whole scenario we got to go through of how the algae got here. Because let's face it, folks, you can remove the algae all day long, but if you don't figure out what's causing it, it's just going to keep coming back. And then number three, it's Sunday. It's Species Sunday. I got a whole bunch of baby chairs to put in this sucker, and we're going to tie it back in with the algae. Let's play with the no maintenance. Here we go.
As you can see, we have a little bit of algae blowing in this bad boy. How did we get here? The most important thing is to figure out what caused the algae. You can clean up the algae all day long, but if you don't know what's causing it, you're going to keep having algae coming back. The first thing you need to think when you see algae is light. Light is number one, numero uno. How long are the lights on? Again, I always recommend that you start with your lights on for only 6 hours to start. This is a baseline only. I'm going to exaggerate here, but if you had 650 watt metal halides over a 10 gallon, 6 hours would still be too much light. But again, start at 6 hours for most aquariums. Another note on lighting. When you are replacing your bulbs, you are going to be giving more light into your tank. I would advise that you cut back your current photo period, how long your lights are on, back about an hour from your existing lighting schedule. Again, which is worse, cleaning algae off of an algae covered tank or moving this little pin over on your timer? Now I'm going to do just this. While I have an algae issue here, I'm still going to swap out just 2 of these 4 bulbs to give us some better spectral composition. Here's another note on algae. It's not a major factor, but it is worth considering here. When your bulbs get old, they do put off a slightly different spectral composition, or basically a different type of light. Perhaps one that is more easy for algae to grow under, but not the plants. Still, there is more to unpack here. I have seen this in perhaps both this tank as well as my buddy Brian's tank he manages at a hospital. That is lights not directly over your aquarium, but rather external light sources causing issues in your tank. Stick with me. Light is light. Heck, moonlight is actually sunlight just being reflected. So while your main light over your tanks are your first and foremost concern and the first thing you should be looking at, it doesn't hurt to look around as well. I have 3 examples of this for you. One is from my own 220. It's an odd one, but it's worth sharing. My own 220 sits in my basement. Hardly any light hits it, except for a certain time of day where it gets pretty killer, fully direct on sunlight, straight onto my rocks. This tiny little bit of light might be what's perpetually causing algae on the focal point of my dear baby. The second external light example comes from my boy Brian, and it's pretty miserable.
What is the problem with the light here? It's not us.
It's not us. The light never goes off in this tank.
The light never goes off in this room.
In this room, I'm sorry, not in the tank. In this room.
Over there.
We have an exit, emergency exit, hospital.
Always has to be on. Legally, right? Like, yes. That's like the rule.
And behind us here, we have another exit.
Oh, God, I forget. Yeah, so it's 2.
There's 2 lights 24/7 on in this room.
Dude.
So this tank, even at its darkest, has as much light as some low light tanks have.
And it never stops, so it's constantly on.
Exactly. So you can fight the algae, but in the end, once you get a little bit of cyanobacteria in here, you're up a creek if you can't get the lights off.
And this is, I'm showing the ugly parts here just because this is why he came over. Now he's clean, you've cleaned some of this.
This is nothing, the entire tank was completely carpeted.
You can still see the cyano was on there though.
Every single leaf was completely covered, looking like this leaf here. And I've a little bit at a time been scraping off each leaf.
Oh, that sucks.
But I've got an entire video about that tank coming, so if you want to go ahead and subscribe, you can catch it when it comes out. But with that tangent aside, let's turn ourselves back to the no maintenance tank. A little algae is nothing to me here. If this wasn't a no maintenance tank, in other words, if I was here to actually do the little tweaks here and there, this algae wouldn't be an issue at all. However, I'm not here at all. So what starts with a small problem turns into a bit of a nuisance. Then I'm going to clean up in one quick swoop. But by simply cleaning the algae, this isn't going to fix the problem from coming back. We need to find out the root of the algae problem. Let's work backwards again here with what we just talked about. How long are the lights on? 6 hours. Check. How much are we feeding? Heck, these fish probably don't get fed but every other day. How old are the bulbs? Well, the bulbs are probably a bit old on this side, so we are going to swap out just 2 of them. But when I came rolling in here today on my morning run, I noticed something that I had never thought about in the past. External light. They always leave the hall light on in here. Jackpot. Well, it might not look like a ton of light. The fact that there is no off time means this funky looking stuff gets hit with just enough of a photo period of light 24/7. Again, if I wasn't a no maintenance tank and I was here, it'd be easy to fix. But this is the Dustin isn't here tank. But I think I've got a fun way to beat it. More on that in a second. Now, what do I want out of this, baby tears? I want a full carpet, thick as hell. Yep, I want so much baby tears in here that this sucker is overran with it. I want a heavy, heavy, heavy plant load. Please note, my goal is to keep this Aquascape pretty stark and barren, which is creative pivot from my jungle Dustin days. So to achieve this, what I'm going for is I really need a ton of baby tears along the bottom, as we really aren't going to mess with much of the vertical space with plants here. The converse of this would be if I had some sort of monster tall Amazon sword, giant massive jungle val, or some big crenum. These plants all grow up, giving you that vertical height and more plant mass. Not across like baby tears. So again, to get that massive heavy plant load with such a small, low, short-growing plant, I'm going to need to plant a ton of baby tears.
But it's Sunday, it's Species Sunday. I've got an easy foreground plant to talk about with you. I've got to talk about the baby tears we've got here. Baby tears, I have seen this plant, this bad boy, growing in lakes in southern part of South Carolina. Baby tears, the only plant that I like more as a foreground plant, it might be easier than this plant, is dwarf sage. Baby tears likes good amount of nutrients available at its roots. It prefers a finer substrate. I have found it grows best in pool filter sand with dirt underneath it. That's how I'm growing it in the greenhouse. And the key is to get the bottom part of the plant where it can get down to the nutrient-rich substrate. I like to let it plant and be established for about a month, just like I'm doing in here. Once it's established, it's a breeze. I cut it way down low. With patience and decent nutrients at its substrate and okay lighting, you can have a carpet in no time. With high light and CO2, baby tears, rolling, look out. Here's a quick rant on foreground plants, however, that I think a lot of people miss when they're trying to design their setups. When you think of foreground plants, the first thing you should think of is plants growing in shallow water on the edge of a stream, river, or lake, or whatever. They're foreground, they grow short intentionally because they're in very shallow water. They're in shallow water, they're also in shallow water with good nutrients, okay? They're in shallow water, good nutrients. Shallow water also lets a lot of light come through. Think about it. South Carolina, full sun, baby tears grows in the warps, shallow water. You can see the clip right there. Why am I sharing this with you? Because, my friends, baby tears has a Cuban cousin, which it should not be confused with. I love baby tears. I hate its cousin, Hemianthus calicotroides or whatever, HC Cuba as the kids are calling it on the street. This plant comes from Cuba. You have to recreate the conditions in your aquarium of Cuba, okay? HC Cuba is not an easy plant. It is not for beginners. It is not for someone without great substrate, without high light, without heavy CO2, okay? I want to be very distinctly clear here. This distinction, I am in love with regular baby tears, not HC Cuba. And there is an update on the no maintenance tank. Do me a favor, drop me a comment on what you think about the no maintenance tank. Let me know what you want to know about the no maintenance tank. Do me a favor, if you like what we're doing here, subscribe, folks. Everybody have a fabulous freaking week. Let me know what your favorite foreground plant is too. And later.
Today to do tours, so what we're going to do is this. We're going to start at 8:30, we're going to go to 1. 1 o'clock, we stop, we pause. Becca's actually scheduled to give the tour that day, so we're going to break. You guys are going to get the food chain tour, then we're going to regroup at 2. She said, I actually just negotiated this about 5 seconds ago. She's giving us
persuasive argument.
Oh, it was, yeah, she was a tough sell. All right, we gotta stop at 2. So
we're in. So we're doing that. So we're super pumped. March 25th, Food Chain Lex, West 6 Brewery. Super excited. Oh my God, I'm so glad to be here. We're finally doing another event, dude. It's so easy. So that's what's up. You can buy tickets, click the links around here. You can check out more. You can donate to her too. She's got a whole other kitchen that she's working on to connect the community with food, which is fantastic. So we got all that stuff linked up too. Support this wonderful nonprofit. And come hang out March 25th and let's tank out live instead of just YouTube comments on stuff. Tank on, everybody. Later.